Ronald Lamola, the minister, but they have a meeting of the Interministerial Committee on Challenges of Migration in Pretoria. There's also SACU taking place. Fellow members of the Portfolio Committee of International Relations, you are welcome. We welcome all the ambassadors who are here today, the leadership of Wits University. We also welcome the IOM, and we really want to say to you that we are grateful of the partnership that is developing between ourselves as Parliament, IOM, and Wits University. What we are going to do here today is something of a new inception. As the Portfolio Committee, we came up with an approach that says that every year in May, we must celebrate, commemorate Africa Month. So in our discussions with Professor Maluka and the Portfolio Committee, and thanks, Prof, for being here again today and for collaborating with us to make this a success, we came up with this initiative that is taking place here today. It is the first of its kind, and our hope is that we will have it as an annual event starting from 2027, which means next year it will take place in May during Africa Month and not in June. Parliament is a creature of democratic processes of the Republic of South Africa. Now, this creature of democratic processes of South Africa has got a responsibility to do three things. One of the first things that Parliament does is to make laws. So South Africans must know that all laws that we want to make in the Republic, the right body, the right platform that we need to use is Parliament. The second thing that Parliament does is to do oversight on the executive arm of the state. So we hold the executive, meaning the president, ministers, deputy ministers, and the extended local government accountable as Parliament. The third thing we need to do so this is part of public participation here today, which we are doing to make sure that we fulfill that which is in the Constitution of the Republic. Yes, you know, ladies and gentlemen, South Africa has got the executive arm of the state, the legislative arm, which is led by government, and the judiciary. So we are part of the other arm of the state, and here we are today going to ensure that there is public participation on the work that we do, and specifically we are going to be discussing the dynamics around migration as a global phenomenon, not specifically what is happening now currently in the country, but we will refer to it in the course of our discussion. So we are grateful of Wits having agreed to be with us here today to deal with this particular matter. As you know, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, and our ambassadors who are here, the diplomatic corps, migration and immigration is an international phenomenon. It doesn't only happen in the African continent. It happens throughout the world. So member states throughout the world deal with this particular matter. Citizens of those particular countries also deal with this particular matter on an ongoing basis. So South Africa is not an exception in as far as this global challenge of migration is concerned. Just yesterday, we were with parliamentarians from the European Union, and one of the things we were discussing is this phenomenon of migration and immigration between Africa and Europe, and how we must handle this matter in a way that creates win-win for both Europe and Africa. So, we as Africa, we are reconstructing our continent. This continent's reconstruction is based on Agenda 2063 of the African Union. One of the basic programs that is being implemented to get the economy right in the African continent is the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which makes sure that there's trade among ourselves as Africans, movement of people, movement of goods, and everything else, so that we can grow the economies of the African countries. But we've got challenges because within the African continent, there are people who move into various African continents legally, they follow the laws and so on, but inevitably there will be people who move from one country to another for various reasons and not following the laws of those particular countries. So for us to make sure that the seamlessness in the African continent, so that we can succeed in implementing the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, therefore achieving the AU Agenda 2063, making sure that there's social cohesion among Africans, and then we can grow together as Africans, we have to make sure that we speak among ourselves. So as Parliament, we thought we need this platform to indicate that when there are issues in society, like we've got now, challenges of immigration and so on, which are happening, Parliament is a platform that our people can use and must use to resolve some of the challenges that we face. For instance, Parliament has got various committees which our people, organizations, non-governmental organizations, public and private enterprises can make use of to advance the solutions to the challenges that we face. So we can interact with committees of Parliament. Secondly, we can petition Parliament at any time of the day, because Parliament is obliged in terms of the Constitution of the Republic, in terms of the rules that are governing Parliament, to afford space to our people to participate in making sure that indeed Parliament becomes a true platform complying with the Constitution, which then becomes a solution or an instrument that our people can use as a solution to resolve their problems. So we want to say to South Africans, in addition to us making sure that we interact with government, either we protest in the streets, either we send memorandums, either we send letters and so on, we've got a platform in Parliament where we can meet like this with committees, we can call them, interact with them. Because why? Committees are an instrument that can hold the executive accountable. Committees have got the power in the Constitution to also summon the executive arm of the state. So if there are issues you have been raising with a particular department and there's no progress, you've got a platform in the form of committees of Parliament to summon a minister to come, accompanied by the bureaucracy within the department, to come and respond to the issues that our people are facing. So that's the second opportunity that we have to use Parliament. Thirdly, if there are vacuums in the law which are not helping us to address some of the challenges that we face in our society, when the law is not sufficient to deal with some of the challenges that we face, they may pertain to any issue, including issues of immigration. It's up to us to say, what are these laws that we need to change so that we can also maybe amend the Constitution so that we can deal with the challenges that we are facing? Which means that institutions like Wits and other institutions, including think tanks, it's important to deepen the rigor of research so that on an ongoing basis, because these are living documents, we can research and then use this research to amend the laws that are governing the Republic. And I'll make an example. Where we are now, Parliament has publicized an opportunity for South Africans to do proposals or sections of the Constitution that we can amend. So I'm just saying and calling on our people to know that Over and above us drawing the attention to the problems that we have to the state by marching, presenting memorandums, and so on, we have an opportunity to use Parliament in addition to those mechanisms, because marching in South Africa is allowed in South Africa in the law, as long as you do it within the confines of the laws of the Republic. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm just saying, organizations that are using that platform to raise their grievances also use Parliament, because Parliament is using the taxpayers' money. So that taxpayers' money can then be used for you to bring Parliament closer, so that we can use Parliament to advance some of the interested issues that you want to raise from time to time. So that is very, very important. And we hope as Parliament here today, we will get to hear empirical evidence and information on issues that causes people to move around in the world. So those who are going to present later, like IOM, for instance, they will be giving us statistical information and empirical evidence on what are these issues that causes people to move around, and how do we then resolve those particular issues. I'm happy you are here, Deputy Minister Moraka, because from Deputy Minister Moraka, we are going to get to know mechanisms that government has been using since 1994, because we have to emphasize it. Since 1994, South Africa has been grappling with these matters of migration and immigration. It's not a phenomenon that's only starting now. So she will be explaining to us how government has been grappling with this matter and how this phenomenon over time has been changing and how government currently is dealing with this particular matter. So our objective as the Portfolio Committee was to bring all of you together here so that we can discuss and confront the issues that are facing us and come up with some solutions that we can then develop and then use Parliament to process those particular issues. And I wish you all the luck in the discussions that are going to take place here today. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair of the committee. You made a very important point, which is relevant to what we do as universities, and that is helping government to make sure that all policies are based on evidence, and that's essentially what we're going to do next. We've got two speakers who are going to talk to us about evidence-based research on migration in South Africa, and we have Associate Professor Joe Very from the university who's going to lead that conversation. Is Professor here? Oh, is he going to join us from line? Okay. Okay. Okay, should we start with Minstra if you're ready? Mani, can we start with Minstra because... okay. So we're still trying to get Prof. Very to come in, but we'll invite Mr. Narim Jina from Minstra to actually do the first presentation, and then we'll take the next one later. Over to you.
Good morning, colleagues, members of the Portfolio Committee, Deputy Minister. I'm from the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection. It's easier to say MISTRA, but that's the full name of the organization. I just want to say, as I start, and perhaps it's better that I come before Joe Vieri, that MISTRA is not an organization that focuses its work on migration or migration-type issues. Migration is not an ongoing research project for us, and so we don't expect that we kind of regularly provide updates and new information, etc. What we have done is that last year we published a book on migration. And this is the reason I assume that we've been invited to present here. So what I'm going to do is, in the few minutes that I have, is go through some of the findings of the different chapters of that book in a way that might be able to assist us in the discussion for the rest of the day. The book is broken up into 3 parts. One that looks at social cohesion, migration, and identity. The second part looks at migration and South Africa's political economy. And the third part looks at the state, South African state, and migration governance in general. In the first section, the 4 chapters here look at questions of migration in Southern Africa, both from a historical perspective and as basically central to the unfolding contemporary regional patterns where the exploitation of cheap labor persists throughout the Southern African region. It traces the evolution of migration governance in the SADC region, shows how migration interacts with structural and contextual factors leading to a denial of cross-border mobility for certain social actors, mainly indigenous African. The first chapter in this section rejects the Eurocentric assumptions of regional homogeneity and finds that colonial labor migration systems and social hierarchies continue to shape post-colonial Southern African migration patterns. Another chapter in this section assesses the impact of migration on national, human, and societal security. It argues that resistance to foreign immigration, to foreign immigrants in South Africa is often reduced to xenophobia, but doing simply this overlooks deeper political, economic, and social factors within South Africa. This particular chapter concludes that migration securitization is contested and changing and recommends a nuanced approach that balances security immigrant rights in ourselves, navigating belonging and citizenship, and haven't really come to grips with that idea for ourselves. Migrants' presence then complicates local debates, or domestic debates on belonging, especially where many citizens still feel marginalized. A continuous portrayal of migrants as outsiders undermines this social cohesion, both between South Africans and migrants, but also among South Africans, and reflects unresolved apartheid-era logics. There's also a chapter that looks at International Migrant Domestic Workers Agency in claiming the right to occupational injuries and diseases in South Africa. In the section on migration and South Africa's political economy, there's an examination of gender dimensions of migration and livelihoods in South Africa, highlighting increasing feminization of migration in Africa more generally. There's also a chapter on nutrition transition in Johannesburg, focusing on this city in particular, and shows how nutrition transition among internal and cross-border migrants in the city help migrants' identity and help them to connect with home. And so we see kind of flourishing of the provision of foods from other parts of the continent and other parts of the world. There's an interesting chapter in this section on South Africa's political economy and migration that looks at rethinking migrant human settlement as basically being beneficial, particularly to township dwellers. And this study is focused on Soweto. It analyzes migrant tenant and local landlord relations in Soweto through the lens of backyard rental relationships between migrants and South Africans, and suggests that migrant tenants support township economic development and social cohesion, in fact, by providing local demand and creating opportunities. There's also a chapter on internal migration within South Africa, and it examines the interface between internal migration, spatial division, and redistribution, showing that migration is part of a broader spatial and structural transformation shaped by technology, sectoral change, and urbanization. Internal migration, spatial division, and redistribution, showing that migration is part of a broader spatial and structural transformation shaped by technology, sectoral change, and urbanization. And this chapter concludes that slow spatial transformation, which, as we know, is a massive problem across the country, that slow spatial transformation reinforces mismatches between where people live, where industries locate, and where jobs are created. The last section, and I'll end with this, looks at migration governance and the South African state. It examines migration governance in South Africa and its SADC influence. It describes a complex, multi-layered governance landscape shaped by competing constituencies and interests, and looks at some Southern African countries' reservations to the UN Refugee Convention and Protocol. This is an interesting chapter from that perspective, looking particularly at Malawi, Mozambique, and Uganda, and how they have not fully accepted the UN Refugee Convention, but have reservations to certain sections of it. I'm not going to go into any detail about that. That particular chapter concludes that effective migration governance requires a comprehensive, coordinated, and integrated approach by government and other relevant stakeholders. There's also sections on digital policy on asylum protection in South Africa, and the issue of the securitization of borders. I would say that a key takeaway from this book is that it calls for understanding of the complexity of managing migration in a country with deep-rooted socio-economic and identity divides, that is, among South Africans. That the complexity must be understood in a historical context where many South Africans were regarded themselves, many South Africans, I should say perhaps the majority of South Africans, were regarded themselves as foreigners in their native land under the apartheid system, which, as you know, denationalized more than 80% of the population. The book acknowledges the social, economic, and political discord associated with migration, while at the same time dispelling the myth of migrant danger, unproductivity, and widespread hostility between locals and migrants. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have about 14 ambassadors from the continent who are here with us today. They had committed themselves to stay with us and have this conversation. Unfortunately, there's an urgent meeting convened by the Minister of DECO, so they have to leave. So we're going to juggle the program around, but I want to assure you that this is not just going to be, as agreed with the chair, not just speeches. There's going to be an open session where we invite all of you who are here, organizations, individuals, who also want to tell the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee what you think about issues of immigration facing the country. So this will be a conversation, not just speeches. But in the next few minutes, I'm going to invite the various ambassadors who want to just make a few statements, a few comments. We've agreed with the chair that we'll only allocate about 3 minutes to the ambassadors to just say a few words before we take the discussions on the research that's been presented to us earlier. So according to my list, the first ambassador on the list is Excellency Ambassador Alexander Ajayi, who's going to be speaking on behalf of Nigerian government. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Program Director. The Honorable Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Honorable Tandi Moraka, the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on International Relations and Cooperation, representatives of parliaments, officials of international organizations, all the ambassadors and high representatives that are here. Thank you very much for permitting me to be here this morning on behalf of my government to participate in this very important discussion, which is very current in terms of what is going on right now. I want to begin by expressing our appreciation from the Nigerian government side on this particular symposiums on migration, which is being convened today, because we consider these as very important in terms of the theme. And we feel that it's a discussion that we need to have at this particular point in time because of the what is going on around us. I must begin to say that the theme of today's engagement is timely and particularly relevant given the growing debates around migration, social cohesion, and community relations across the continent. As we discuss these issues, it is important that we do so honestly, constructively, and within a shared commitment to finding solutions to some of the problems associated with migration. From the perspectives of Nigerian government, discussion on migration and social cohesion cannot be separated from the recurring challenge of xenophobic violence and anti-foreigner sentiments that have periodically surfaced in South Africa. This issue remains a matter of deep concerns to the government of Nigeria, and particularly because Nigeria frequently found themselves among those targeted during such incidents. What makes this situation particularly troubling is that it continues to reoccur despite the strong historical ties, strategic partnerships, and extensive people-to-people relations that exist between our two countries. Nigerians have contributed to South Africa's economy, academia, healthcare sector, religious institutions, cultural industries, and entrepreneurial landscape. Equally, South Africa have continued to enjoy opportunities and hospitalities in Nigeria. Against this backdrop, many Nigerians struggle to understand why they are often singled out when this particular situation occurs. This is not to suggest that any individual who violates the laws of South Africa should be shielded from accountability. Nigeria fully recognizes the sovereign right and responsibility of every state to enforce its laws and protect all persons within its border. Where crimes are committed, perpetrators should be identified, investigated, and prosecuted in accordance with due process. Criminality has no place within the African continent. However, a distinction must be made between addressing criminal conduct and attributing societal challenges to entire nationalities or migrant communities. When isolated acts of criminality are generalized and used to stigmatize a particular group of people, the result is often discrimination, hostility, and in some instances, violence against innocent individuals whose only offense is clear is their nationality. It is therefore important that conversation on migration address not only the movement of people and the associated push and pull factors, but also the social narratives that shape public perceptions of migration. Across the world, migration is driven by a combination of economic opportunity
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, Chair of the Portfolio Parliamentary Committee, ambassadors present, international organizations, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for inviting Zambia to be part of the discussion this morning regarding a topic that is affecting all of us currently. Thank you also to the Portfolio Committee for the initiative to have this platform to discuss this cross-sectorial matter that is strengthening the understanding and deliberately counter the division that characterizes global discourse on migration. Today, I'll give the perspective of Zambia in line with migration. Zambia is uniquely positioned. It is a land-linked country with 8 neighbors. And its location creates a destination for migrants as well as transit of migrants through Zambia, originating from Great Lakes region, the Horn of Africa, as well as West Africa. The movements are mostly driven by migrants seeking economic opportunities, like the High Commissioner Nigeria indicated, also fleeing from conflict and political instability from their original countries of origin, also severe climate change and social family networks. Zambia, as a member of AU, SADC, and COMESA, reflects a commitment to regional integration and gradual facilitation of free movement of persons, goods, and services. Both the AU and SADC frameworks do emphasize that expanding transparent, accessible, and regular legal pathways for migration is the absolute most effective way to eliminate irregular border crossings, dismantle human trafficking, and foster long-term social cohesion. Ladies and gentlemen, migration patterns within Zambia continue to evolve. Like I indicated, climate change challenges, which include droughts, environmental pressures, together with pursuit of economic opportunities, have contributed to increased rural to urban movements. And this is a migration within country. Further, migration can make significant contributions to economic development. In rural areas, for example, migrants often introduce new ways of agricultural practices. They increase productivity and create employment opportunities. In urban centers such as Lusaka and the Copper Belt, which is a mining province in Zambia, migrants provide labor and address skills shortages in sectors like mining, construction, commerce, name it. Migrants and refugees also contribute to local economies and as entrepreneurs, consumers, and service providers, generating economic activity that benefits our communities. Ladies and gentlemen, migration does strengthen regional and international connections. Remittances sent by migrants' families improve household incomes, engage with diaspora, including policies such as dual citizenship. However, we must acknowledge that challenges associated with migration, rapid population growth in urban areas can place a pressure on health services, education systems, employment opportunities like we can attest to here in South Africa. In some rural areas, increased demand for land, natural resources can contribute to environmental degradation and also bring about conflicts. Social tensions may also emerge where communities perceive unequal access to public services. I think this is something that we've heard that is obtaining here in South Africa, where the local population are indicating the conflicts that are there in accessing the social facilities. These realities underscore the importance of effective governance and balanced policy responses. The Republic of Zambia continues to strengthen its migration governance framework through initiatives such as the National Migration Policy, Vision 2030, and the National National Refugee Policy of 2023. These frameworks seek to balance national security, economic development, humanitarian obligations, and social cohesion. They reaffirm Zambia's commitment to protecting vulnerable populations while promoting inclusive development for all who reside within our borders. A notable aspect of Zambia's refugee policy is the emphasis on local integration. Through settlements such as Maheba and Mayukayuka refugee camps. This is the Maheba refugee camp is one of the biggest refugee camps in Southern Africa. It has over 26,000 refugees from various countries within the neighboring SADC and also East Africa. And it is a testament of a successful, well-managed refugee camp which has integrated well with the local community and has provided positive contribution to the social well-being of the local communities and also enhancement of agriculture. As we look to the future, our collective challenge is not simply to manage migration, but to harness potential. This requires regional cooperation, evidence-based policy making, like we do have people from the professors around, from academia, who can give us empirical information that will assist in policy formulation and invest in social services and continued efforts to foster understanding between the host communities and the migrants. I must hasten to say that migration is not merely a movement of people, it is a movement of ideas, skills, cultures, and opportunities. When properly managed, it can serve as a powerful driver of economic prosperity, regional integration, and social development. We should, therefore, continue working together as societies that are inclusive, resilient, and united. Societies where diversity is viewed as is not viewed as a challenge, but as a strength. On behalf of the Republic of Zambia, I wish to reaffirm Honorable Minister, our commitment to promoting safe, orderly, regular migration while strengthening social cohesion and advancing sustainable development for all. Siyabonga. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We're going to try and move very quickly. I still assure you that we will open the floor for interaction, because the committee has told me that they want to hear everyone's views, not just ambassadors. So I'll just call one country to speak, and then we'll move over to the international agencies that are here, and then we'll come back and take the remaining other countries that need to be included here. Bearing in mind that ambassadors actually want to leave as quickly as possible. Yes, sir. Do you want to say something? Huh? Oh, yeah. No, I'm coming to you now. I'm just about to call you. Excellency Ambassador John Nyakeru from the DRC. Ambassador, please take the floor.
Good morning, everybody. Honorable Chair of Committee, Honorable Member of Parliament, Honorable Madam Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for the DRC to participate in this important Symposium of Migration and Social Cohesion. I wish to thank the Government of South Africa, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, and the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee for creating this platform for constructive Africa dialogue. Immigration is not merely a national issue. It's an African reality. It reflects both the aspiration and the challenges of our people. Therefore, our response must also be African, collective, and forward-looking. The Democratic Republic of the Congo understands both sides of this reality. Our country hosts thousands of refugees from neighboring states, while at the same time bearing one of Africa's largest humanitarian crises, with millions and internally displaced persons caused by insecurity in the eastern part of our country. This remind us that migration is often a consequence of conflict and underdevelopment rather than a free choice. South Africa also faces legitimate socio-economic pressure, including unemployment, pressure of public service, housing shortage, and irregular migration. These concerns diverse thoughtful policy responses. However, our response must always remain rooted in fact, the rule of law, human dignity, and our shared African value. The Democratic Republic of the Congo unequivocally condemns xenophobia, discrimination, and violence against migrants. At the same time, we equally reject criminality regardless of nationality. We reject xenophobia, reject criminality network, support orderly immigration, uphold the rule of law, and promote social cohesion. Ladies and gentlemen, migration should not only be viewed as a challenge. When poverty managed, it's also a powerful driver of economic growth, entrepreneurship, innovation, skills, transfer, and regional integration. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, therefore, proposed a new African skills partnership instead of exporting people permanently. Africa should export opportunities. Through partnership and vocational training, technology transfer, apprenticeships, and temporary labor mobility, young Africans can acquire skills, return home, create business, generate employment, and strengthen their national economy. Our vision is simple: train in Africa, work in Africa, build Africa. At the same time, Africa must accelerate regional industrialization, strengthen value addition, expand infrastructure, deepen research and innovation, and fully implement the African Continental Free Trade Area. Development remains the most sustainable solution to forced migration. Honorable Chairperson, the Democratic Republic of Congo believes that immigration should unite rather than divide Africans. Our common objective must be to transform migration from a source of tension into the catalyst for development, regional integration, and shared prosperity. Let's build in Africa where movement creates opportunities, diversity, strengthen, unity, and development benefit all. I thank you so much.
I like that statement. Train, work, build in Africa. That was wonderful. The next set of speakers will be from the international agencies, but before that, there's a presentation from Her Excellency from Mozambique, Madame Maria Gustava, who has agreed that she will take only 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister of DIRCO, Excellencies, Honorable Member of Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. I'm deeply honored to speak before you today at this historic institution at a time when the question of migration and cohesion are reality and shaping our society and relationship. Let me express my sincere appreciation to the Parliament Committee on International Relations for the kind invitation extended to me to this event. Migration is as old as humanity itself. Throughout history, people have moved across regions and borders in search of safety, opportunity, education, family unification, and better future. African societies, histories, culture, and development have been shaped by the movement of people, ideas, skills, and tradition. The relationship between Mozambique and South Africa provides a compelling example of this reality. For generations, Mozambicans have traveled to South Africa for employment, education, trade, and professional opportunities. Likewise, South Africans have invested, worked, and contributed to Mozambique's economic and social development. Our people are connected by geographic, history, family, ties, and shared destiny. Our economies are not parallel, they are interwoven. In the such as migration can stress social cohesion by promoting cultural diversity, mutual understanding, and foster ties between nation and society, also they can raise challenge and tension when local community face challenges. This factor can be exacerbated by perception and misinformation in regards to competition of scarce sources and job opportunity. It's hardly possible for Mozambique to speak about South Africa without recalling the deep moral and political solidarity that defined and shared the struggle against colonialism and apartheid. Many Mozambicans still remember the time when the country stood firmly alongside South African liberation movement for freedom and dignity. This political history may not always resonate with the young generation confronted with today's different challenges and social demands. It's nevertheless upon to all the generation, including the academia, to educate the young generation on the values of Pan-Africanism and on the common struggle for liberation that we are all enjoy. Here in this Wits University, the reality is particularly evident. Our icon of liberation struggle, the founder of Frelimo, Eduardo Mondlane, studied in this university before proceeding to other places, which means that it is a result of South Africa and education in South Africa. So all they are talking about him today. Likewise, recognize social cohesion in the context of migration is not a mere absence of conflict. It's also the ability to share responsibility within the framework of the law, protection of human rights, mutual respect, and peaceful coexistence amongst the people of different backgrounds. In the Southern African Development Community, SADC is engaged in developing policies and framework for the management of migration, which entails an orderly and safely movement of people across the region. The lasting solution will require, among the others, an open and frank debate among the all stakeholders in our societies. Research and evidence-based policymaking can help us better understand the migration pattern, addressing misconception, and develop solutions that benefit both host community and migrants. Young people from all social backgrounds should share responsibility in promoting dialogue, tolerance, and understanding amongst all and migrant community while advancing their current and future development as well as well-being interests. The values of humanity and social cohesion cannot be fostered by the governments alone, but by all citizens who can choose inclusion over exclusion and cooperation over division. We must therefore continue working together to strengthen legal migration, protection of human rights, combat human trafficking, and address the root cause that often compel people to leave their homes. We must also invest in economic opportunity that enable our young people to drive whenever they choose to build their futures. Indeed, this future of Southern Africa will need the building of stronger institutions of cooperation, such as development of regional economic and education. It's imperative that we invest in narrative that not erase difference but dignify them. It's upon us to teach our children on the value of the shared regional destiny and interdependence, where mobility is not a source of fear but common destiny or shared wealth. Mozambique remains committed to work closely with all countries at the regional, continental, and global to promote orderly migration and social harmony. At the region level, we believe that a prosperous Southern Africa is one in which all people can contribute meaningfully to society while respecting the laws, values, and culture of their host community. I thank you very much.
The Chair and I have agreed that we'll keep our promise to make sure that we have enough time for a discussion. So what's going to happen in the next few minutes is we will take a presentation from His Excellency Ambassador Amero Alemu from Ethiopia, and he will be followed by the Deputy Minister, but I'll introduce her after that. Ambassador, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Program Coordinator. Due to the program that DIRCO had, my ambassador switched me to arrive here, so I have his statement with me. Thank you very much. I'm delighted and, of course, a bit scared, of course, to be with the Parliament, the parliamentarians. I know that South African Parliament is known for something. Very active, vocal, and then, of course, democratic. They can stop even the president when it is necessary. So I've been here 2.5 years, so I've been very fascinated in following the democratic system of your parliament. And then I want to congratulate for that. And then your legacy and example of African democracy, how it works. So we are taking those all to our account as well. Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson and Deputy Minister. My pleasure to see you and to share Ethiopia's idea on this matter at hand. So we believe that such forum and deliberation across national, continental, and global platforms would help to address the challenges. So in that regard, we are also happy to pledge to co-host and to coordinate with South Africa and other, international and continental stakeholders to address this matter. So migration is enduring and inherent feature of global community. It is therefore incumbent upon us to develop practical evidence-based policy instrument grounded in rigorous research, organized data system that facilitate order, safe and productive human mobility throughout the stakeholders' cooperation and coordination. So migration is not an isolated phenomena. It is direct consequence of intersyncing political, social, economic dynamics within and between the nations. So accordingly, political instabilities, economic disparities, climate-induced disaster, serve a primary structural driver of large-scale irregular migration, and alongside significant fooling factors that we see here in South Africa. So Ethiopia ranks among the largest, receiving refugee nation in Eastern Africa. So it hosts approximately around 900,000 refugees from 26 countries, basically from Africa and Middle Eastern countries. So simultaneously, Ethiopia constitutes a principal country of origin within the Horn of Africa, with an international migration rate of 1.1%, representing roughly million immigrants, even particularly according to the data in 2015 alone. We therefore possess a direct and comprehensive understanding of migration complexity, and especially from the perspective of duality with sharing with the South Africans. So it is understandably difficult and complex one. So South Africa has long served as a major destination of migrants across the continent. However, the migration has recently emerged as highly contested issue, frequently framed in political in public discourses as a driver of unemployment, pressure on public services, and crime narratives that have been invoked to justify random and violent actions against immigrants, and the contradicting international norms that governs all of us, including the Ubuntu principle as well. So we also acknowledge that illegality, including any violence of immigration laws, is indefensible and must be addressed through lawful means. At the same time, wrongful conduct against immigrants needs to be corrected, as abuse, violence are equally illegal. To this end, while appreciating the efforts being made by the government of the Republic of South Africa to address the matter through legal and institutional means, we also call upon the government to intensify its effort in this regard. Ladies and gentlemen, Ethiopia fully acknowledges the political, economic, social, complex and challenges that South Africa faces in relation to irregular migration. In this connection, we have initiated a bilateral dialogue through DIRCO, engaging pertinent sectors, including Department of Home Affairs, police, border management authorities. So our preliminary engagement have confirmed that migration constitutes shared risks and shared responsibility along entire migrant routes. We are equally convinced that any illegality must be addressed solely through domestic law and international multilaterally agreed systems. Never though arbitrary actions, mass mobilizations, and extradition enforcement. We are pleased to note our common understanding that regulated and productive human migration is achievable. It is essential to consider several critical issues that demand collective, shared, and differentiated responsibilities. In this regard, I finally wish to suggest the following points. The scale and complexity of contemporary human mobility necessitates effective management of social, economic, political, developmental, environmental, and humanitarian factors underpinning migration in specific nations and regions. So those dimensions require targeted and systematic attentions from and within. Secondly, assisted voluntary returns and reintegration constitutes an indispensable component of comprehensive migration management frameworks aimed at ensuring the safe, orderly, and human reintegration of migration who are unable to even or unwilling to remain in host or transit countries and who choose to return to their countries of origin. Third, safe and dignified returns, assisting programs, and protection mechanisms are essential to disincentivize to irregular migrations while also offering viable pathways for migrants stranded in crisis-affected countries. Regional and global coordination is paramount for facilitating productive human migration and for combating irregular migration, human trafficking. Ethiopia stands ready to collaborate with South Africa and other transit states to manage migration flows, control crime, disrupt human trafficking networks, with a view to achieve sustainable solution and addressing immediate challenges as well. Finally, sustained dialogue and continued engagements are imperative to shape public opinions and influence community perceptions regarding the presence and the contribution of migrants, while also reaffirming the recognition that migration has fundamentally shaped societies across every region of the globe. I thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be in trouble because the Deputy Minister of DECO has been sitting patiently since, I think she got here at 9 o'clock, and the Chair and I agreed that we should actually give her the chance to speak to us. And ambassadors who are still available, please communicate to the office so that we can incorporate you. So we'll have the Deputy Minister now, And then from there, we'll go to the international partners and then stakeholders, and then an open conversation. Let's welcome the Deputy Minister, Madam Muraka. Thank you very much. Welcome to the school. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prof. I don't know what must then happen to the mic because a real person has just stood up. I'll just adjust. You see, some of us who are naturally gifted. Let me take this opportunity, Chair, and the Program Director, to appreciate all the esteemed members of our diplomatic corps that have joined us in this important engagement, various heads of missions who have really blessed us with their presence from DRC, Ethiopia, all of you, Zambia, Mozambique, Nigeria. Thank you very much for coming through. The Portfolio Committee on International Relations and Cooperation that is hereby led by the chairperson and other esteemed members, Honorable Douglas, Reverend Mishe. Today you see the environment is different from the usual one that we always have, Honorable Smith, because in Parliament, when we appear there as the department, Excellencies, it's not this environment that you see here. It's the one that is in such a way that it's a cat and a mouse arrangement. So we'll have to maintain this kind of an outlook, Honorable Chairperson, because really I'm seeing the smile of Honorable Smith for the first time ever since I got appointed. But thank you very much for having convened us in this manner as the Portfolio Committee on behalf of the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa for us to reflect on this important issue on migration and social cohesion that warrants all of us to sit together in this manner and reflect constructively on how we need to tackle the issue. The Statistician General of the Republic of South Africa, Tatane Risenga Maluleka, who will then grace us with his numbers. He's a man of numbers. As he will be coming, he will be giving us real stats on how to tackle this issue. You are welcome, Chair. The international organizations that have also blessed us with their presence this morning, I want to acknowledge all of you, IOM, and all those that are coming from the UN and other organizations. I'm told even Mistra has a book on this topic. I was whispering with the chair that can we also be blessed with a gift from Mistra, especially on that book, so that we can start to equip ourselves with the knowledge and the information that we have put together in that noble document. We also want to take this opportunity and appreciate Wits School of Governance, as led here by Professor Maseko. You once lectured me on this unit of Wits, especially on the School of Governance, because we served in provinces that send members of the provincial legislatures to this kind of programs. So now, Prof, you remember that I was once your student here in this very same room. But most importantly, let me take this opportunity and appreciate fellow South African citizens that are following these proceedings via Parliament streaming processes, where we need to now close the gap between the work of Parliament and our various communities. I want to really thank Parliament for having seen the need for us to stream live to our various communities. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this opportunity and convey our sincere appreciation from the Department of International Relations and Cooperation in the Republic of South Africa for having been invited to this kind of an engagement with our portfolio committee. Chair, I also need to start with a disclaimer that seeks to really clarify the situation of migration in South Africa. But safe to say that South Africa doesn't have refugee camps, just like other countries within SADC and the continent of Africa. South Africa has always believed and maintained the policy on integration of our fellow Africans every time when they come to South Africa through legal means. We integrate them to our various communities so that they don't feel isolated and left out. We are the only country in the continent that believes, or in the world, that believes that integration is the way to go. And for that, I thought you'll give us a round of applause. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I want to also indicate that the thrust of our foreign policy as a country has always been built on the principles that have been guiding us as a country, the principle of Pan-Africanism, that we are within the continent of Africa. How do we then work together to strengthen that noble principle that will help us to forge for unity and cohesion of the people of this entire continent? We are also being guided by the spirit of Ubuntu as a country of South Africa, in terms of how do we then treat our foreign brothers and sisters with that spirit of humanity, where we must emphasize our shared spirit of interconnectedness and our mutual care. Our national ethos requires that we treat every person with dignity and that we respond to migration challenges in ways that protect the rights of every human being and also uphold the principle of the rule of law. That's who we are as a country, and as our national statement affirms, the country's historical legacy of racial discrimination that continues to shape social relations and integration of various issues that we continue to come across. So we are a society that is really still healing from our ugly past as a country. So we can therefore fold our arms when our fellow brothers and sisters are treated in an inhumane manner. So how do we then work together with the government and the entire society to make it a point that we drive this narrative to the minds of our people? We cannot understand today's tension without acknowledging the past. Apartheid was a system that was engineered spatially to segregate and also exploit our laborers and deeply drive issues of unequal access to issues of education, housing, and economic opportunities. That's our past. How do we then work together to deal with those structural inequalities that were as a result of the then apartheid regime, and also build on that and make sure that we build on this prosperous South Africa that we all envisage? I want to believe, Chair, that since 1994, all of us, we appreciate South Africa's deliberate approach to issues of opening its doors to the continent as a conscious rejection of apartheid's exclusionary policies that we have been experiencing as a country. Many migrants have become integral to our economy and our social life. They continue to contribute skills and entrepreneurship activities where we need to now strengthen issues of people-to-people relationship through cultural vitality activities that we continue to encourage. Yet we have unresolved social and socio-economic inequalities as a country. There is no society that is so unequal like the society that we have in South Africa. We are the most unequal society, a society that is driven by issues of high unemployment that continues to affect the most important sector of our population. I think the SG, as he will be coming in, he will be able to indicate those specific numbers in terms of our statistics as a country. Where are we sitting in terms of issues of poverty, inequality, and unemployment? South Africa is a constitutional democracy that is founded on the values of human dignity, equality, and the rule of law. Our response to migration must therefore be rights-based and also being driven by issues of human rights, issues that must always be appreciated by all of us. South Africans are not xenophobic. Prof, let me emphasize on that. South Africans are not xenophobic. It's just that we are finding ourselves in this situation wherein these vigilante groups are taking advantage of the situation that our people have been faced with. All those issues that I spoke about are a reality in our country. So we now see some of them being mobilized to be engaged on these issues that are currently developing in the country, because these organizers are taking advantage of their vulnerability and their socio-economic challenges that they are faced with. All of you will appreciate that if there is an issue in a society and you have your people sitting, loitering there, doing nothing, and they are being called to come and engage in activities that are somewhat illegal and somewhat driven by agendas that seeks to affect our international standing as a country. Surely our people, because they are vulnerable, they'll find themselves engaged in such activities. But from government, we have seen our President, His Excellency, President Cyril Ramaphosa, delivering the 5-point plan on how to deal with the issue of migration in the country. The President emphasized on the need to crack down on violations of immigration, labor, and other laws to ensure that everyone in South Africa is here legally, and we are going to help our government and our society to prevent issues of exploiting undocumented workers. This includes stronger enforcement against employers who flout our laws, and the issue of making sure that we safeguard the well-being of these migrant workers, because, Program Director, when you have undocumented migrant workers in your facility, those workers are prone for issues of exploitation because they are not unionized. They are illegal in the country, therefore they are subject to issues of unfair labor practices. So how do we then work together with the government on those 5-point plans to make it a point that we deliver on making sure that employers does adhere to our immigration laws and employ people that are here in the country legally? That is the first call that the president made when he addressed the nation. The second call, he did indicate that South Africa, we do have porous borders. That was an acknowledgement from a head of state, which is so unlikely because in other countries, people seek to really defend and try to justify certain things. But our president did acknowledge that we need to work together to strengthen our border security and modernize border management through investment of technology and infrastructure upgrades that needs to happen in all our ports of entry. That is the commitment from the government of this 7th administration under the leadership of our president. Thirdly, he did indicate that we are going to embark on a reform to strengthen immigration systems by digitizing all the issues that needs to be managed in the immigration processes, where we must now expand biometric systems, where we must improve efficiency of asylum seeker processes, where as well we need to establish clearer and faster adjudication mechanism to those refugee applications that we continue to receive within the Department of Home Affairs. Fourthly, the president did indicate that there is a need for us to close legal and policy gaps that we have seen in our regulatory framework that we have in the country, where we continue to see those influx of foreign nationals, of course, taking advantage of those regulatory loopholes that we have in the country. And he did indicate that under his leadership, the executive wing of this 7th administration will table policies and regulations to Parliament that seeks to help us to tighten these challenges. But the last issue that the president emphasized on is around the issue to deepen regional cooperation with AU and SADC member states through our bilateral engagements to address the root causes of irregular migration and also address issues of conflict that continues to make it possible for people to move from one country to another. So we are going to be very busy, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, as the Department of International Relations, because we are expected to go all over the continent and start first here in SADC to make it a point that we have outreach programs where we engage with SADC member states and AU member states for us to collaborate on these efforts, where we must address the root causes of migration. Because without regional economic integration of our economies, we will from time to time be faced with this issue of illegal migration that we continue to see as various countries. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on issues of governance and service delivery will accelerate implementation of the white paper on international migration and also work towards operationalizing the National Action Plan so that migration contributes to national development and social cohesion of our country. Administrative establishment of dedicated immigration adjudication capacity, and also we are working towards the process of intensifying on our labor inspection works so that we go to all those factories, all those farms that have always been abusing these illegal migrants that are working in their facilities. So this will require, of course, Chairperson, a whole of government approach and as well a whole of society approach. We need to work together with the government of the Republic of South Africa and see to it that we address this issue. Like the chairperson has already alluded to, migration is a global phenomenon. People often move from one country to another, and it has been happening as well in South Africa and other neighboring countries. So how do we then work together with African member states to see to it that we regularize the movement of our people from one country to another? That is the call of the South African government, and I'm also happy that the President will be debating this issue in the next segment of our AU summit, which is likely to take place in the coming 2 weeks. Ghana, of course, has sponsored an agenda on this issue, on the whole program of that AU summit. So South Africa will be able to lead on that issue because we are the ones that are purported to be xenophobic as a country and also not welcoming to our fellow African brothers and sisters, which is a misleading narrative altogether. We need to go to that AU and stand our grounds and explain to the rest of the continent that South Africans are welcoming to all of you, provided you come to South Africa through legal means. That is what we are going to be saying. So let's work together, of course guided by the spirit of Ubuntu and the spirit of Pan-Africanist solidarity, so that we can ensure migration is managed in a humanely manner and also in a lawful and strategically approaches. Let us turn migration from a source of division into an engine of shared prosperity for our beloved continent. South Africa reaffirms its commitment to the rule of law, where we need to protect the vulnerable groups and also work together with our continental and international partners to build the inclusive societies that which our Constitution has called on all of us to work around. Let us really utilize this symposium, Chairperson, to deliberate on this important issue. And I need to assure our various heads of missions here that the government of South Africa is willing to cooperate and work with yourselves in this issue that is currently developing in the country. How do we work together with you to make it a point that those brothers and sisters who are in the country illegally, we must then work together with yourselves to regularize their presence here in the country, because we need each other as the people of one continent of Africa. As we always speak about this issue, every time when we speak about our Agenda 2063, which is the AU's 50-year development blueprint that has got a master plan on how can we build a continent that is a powerhouse to the rest of the world. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Deputy Minister, thank you very much for those inspiring words. I had to lower the mic, as you can see. I'm the head of school, so I can decide where the mic stays. Colleagues, there's going to be coffee and tea outside, but we're not going to have a break because we have so many speakers who want to say a few words, including stakeholders. So if you can just bear with us. The committee has agreed that we'll not take a break until we get all the voices heard. The mandate you gave to us was that we need to create a platform, a forum, where all the stakeholders can speak. So let's try and do that as much as we possibly can. I'm seeing Reverend Mesho here, one of the veteran members of Parliament who's been there since 1994, taking notes very, very diligently. So I think this is going to be an interesting conversation later on. So what's coming next now, we're going to move to the international organizations or partners in this program. The first speaker will be Mr. Nelson Matu. My print is too... I'm getting old now. Nelson Mofu. Okay. He's going to say a few words. He's coming from he's the UN resident coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Program Director. Honorable Chair of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable DM, Excellencies, please allow me to acknowledge the established protocols and read out a speech, a statement on behalf of Nelson Mufu, the United Nations Resident Coordinator in South Africa. My name is Yu Yu. I'm the representative of UNMPA in South Africa and currently the Resident Coordinator at INTEM. On behalf of United Nations in South Africa, I express our sincere appreciation to the government of South Africa for its steadfast commitment to the principles of equality, human rights, and dignity as enshrined in the Constitution. I commend the International Organization for Migration, the International Relations Portfolio Committee, and the University of Wits School of Governance for convening this timely dialogue. In an increasingly complex global landscape, South Africa continues to demonstrate a strong commitment to ensuring that migrants, refugees, asylum seekers, and mobile populations have access to fundamental human rights and essential services like health and education. We commend national, provincial, and local governments' efforts to promote inclusive policies and to ensure leave no one behind. The spirit of Ubuntu, woven into South Africa's social fabric, reminds us of our shared humanity and our collective responsibility to uphold human dignity for all, particularly those unheard. It is in this spirit that the United Nations expresses deep concern regarding intimidation, destruction of property, and criminal acts affecting migrants and host communities alike in parts of the country. We recognize community concerns regarding socio-economic hardship. We know that these challenges are structural and cannot be attributed to migration alone. Addressing these challenges requires inclusive, practical solutions grounded in human rights principles. We echo the government of South Africa's call for calm and urge responsible leadership at all levels to reduce tensions and restore trust. We welcome His Excellency the President Cyril Ramaphosa's clear reaffirmation that the rule of law must prevail and that no individual has the right to take the law into their hands. We reiterate that the United Nations Secretary General welcomes the government's commitment to rooting out corruption within the immigration system, the implementation of National Action Plan against racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerance. Follow-up to recommendations made through the UN human rights mechanisms, and ensuring that law enforcement remains the sole arbiter of justice. Excellencies, colleagues, and friends, well-governed migration contributes to economic growth, entrepreneurship, and skill transfer, benefiting the entire region. As articulated in Vision 2030 of the National Development Plan, a prosperous South Africa is one that is united, inclusive, and values diversity as a source of strength. Looking ahead, the United Nations remains committed to supporting policy engagement, service delivery, community-based interventions, countering misinformation, and restoring trust. Let us move forward guided by Ubuntu and the rule of law, committing to building a South Africa where dignity, safety, and opportunity are shared by all. As the National Development Plan reminds us, let us chart a new course and write a new story. Thank you very much.
we're making good progress. The next speaker is going to be the country or chief mission of the International Organization on Migration, Mr. Yitna Getashu, who is one of our partners with Parliament in convening this symposium. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, MC. Good afternoon, Honorable Chair, Honorable Deputy Minister, Excellencies, Honorable Members of Parliament. I'm very happy to be here. As IOM, we're extremely pleased to be part of this initiative, to support it. I have a whole prepared speech here, but I'm not going to do that because I'm hearing you, MC. We need to listen, we need to create the space for exchange of ideas. So I will only say a few things. One, we are deeply worried about the situation. And we are fully committed to supporting the government. As the United Nations, we see this in two ways. One is the immediate danger that is lurking, the escalation of tensions. We believe that needs to be addressed immediately. We are calling for de-escalation, for calm. The second is, of course, the long-term structural issues and how they need to be addressed. Now, when we come to de-escalation, I'm so happy to see my good and distinguished friend, the Statistician General here. He will be speaking about numbers. But I need to borrow at least one set of data from him. We recently, as IOM, published the World Migration Report. And the most prominent statement there is that out of 100 people in the world, 4 are migrants. And 4% of the world population, 3.7, almost 4% of the population in the world are migrants. In South Africa, population of 63, 65 million, at best we have 3.1 million migrants. That's just above 4%. It's in par with the rest of the world. The country is not overwhelmed, it's not overrun. The numbers are manageable. In fact, they are far less than the rest of the developed world. If you go to the Gulf, there are countries which have 85, 90% of their population migrants. So there is no need to panic. It is manageable numbers, and this economy can handle that. This social fabric can handle that. This is not to dismiss the genuine, legitimate concerns that are expressed by those who protest and by the population. There is poverty, there is unemployment, yes, high numbers. Service delivery, correct. But this will need longer-term structural interventions. They didn't happen overnight. Even the immigration problem didn't happen overnight. It cannot be fixed within a few weeks. It needs time. During that time, it is important to de-escalate, and there is no justification, however genuine the grievances may be, for violence, intimidation, loss of life, or wanton destruction of property. That is our call, essentially. Now, going forward, there are a few things that we need to acknowledge. Firstly, indeed, as the resident coordinator's statement pointed out, we commend the government's efforts. The government is hitting the right notes. Law enforcement, immigration, deportation, right? Addressing unemployment, labor inspection, all those are on the right track. Engagement with other governments, regional cooperation. We thank you for that and we commend you. We will work with you on that. We also acknowledge and commend the protesters, the organizers of the protests who have called for peaceful protest. That needs to be acknowledged. Peaceful protest, restraint. And therefore, I thought we should take this opportunity to acknowledge that as well. Now, going forward, what is it that needs to be done to complement the government's efforts? A few things, because Professor Eddie Maloka also asked me that we need to reflect on the future and what needs to be done. Firstly, I think we need to establish information integrity. We need to be talking about facts and figures as proven, so as not to be driven by disinformation or misinformation. So data is going to be extremely important. Secondly, improving the border management system, the asylum system, digitization, documentation, which are already ongoing efforts. We need to strengthen those. Third, and perhaps completely missing in the discussion at the moment, is addressing smuggling and trafficking. Because a few weeks ago we did a quick assessment, and we were looking at migrants who were trying to reach South Africa. Out of 79 who were interviewed, 65 admitted to using the services of smugglers, right? So the smugglers are operating with impunity. Those need to be addressed. In order to address those, however, remember they operate across borders. There is need for countries to cooperate, just as the smugglers do. And that is what we call the roots-based approach. We need to be able to get countries to speak to each other, not only at political and diplomatic levels, but at technical level. Source countries, transit countries, destination countries. How do we act together? How do we operate in a coherent manner to address the problem from its root to its end and back, its whole circle? Therefore, the fourth component is deepening regional cooperation. And of course, we had tried this before on and off. We need to invest on social cohesion, dialogue, engagement between communities, so that we can achieve peaceful results. Let me stop there. And once again, thank you very much. We are very happy this forum has been established. We are hoping that we will be able to continue this year after year, make it a yearly event, because South Africa does need a structured platform for engaging on migration discussion. It cannot be left for social media. Thank you very much.
We've decided that Prof. Maluka is going to be the next speaker, but we're going to postpone him to later. He's my staff member. I can tell him to do that. We'll move straight to the Statistician General to just tell us what the numbers are telling us.
Let me thank Prof. Maseko. I think they had promised me that my presentation would be ready here, which it looks like it's ready. But let me start off by standing on all the protocols that have been observed so that I can spend more time on the numbers. The chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on International Relations is looking at me and he says, but you can stand on the protocols, but I'm still the chairperson. So, and then since you are seated next to the deputy minister, I'll take note of the deputy minister and excellencies here from the missions as well as the diplomatic corps, and particularly the IOM colleagues. Let me take note of them. I'm not a very good public speaker, as you will always remember and know. But one thing I want to assure, I have often been asked, Statistician General, tell us this number, tell us this number. For me, the Statistician General is responsible for everyone who is within the borders of South Africa, documented or undocumented. It's the job of the Statistician General, because official statistics is about services, and people need services wherever they are. Doesn't matter. When you go to the wall and you want to switch on the light there, the light doesn't first ask you, are you documented or undocumented before I switch off? When you go and use an ablution facility, when you want to flush, it doesn't ask you, are you what's documented or undocumented, regular or irregular. So the statistician general has to count everyone. And I get told that, no, you are encouraging lawlessness. It's not my job. And I don't even go and report to the police where the people who are undocumented are. Because if I start reporting, I'll have broken the law of confidentiality, and I can't break that law. That is number one. Number two is that these people will no longer be available to be counted. So let me mention that those who want to enforce law, let them go and enforce law. Let me stay on my lane and make sure that I do my work and I do it independently. Having said so, I'm going to talk about that we have about 63 million people in South Africa, 63,100,000 to be exact. Of those, 16.1 million are in Gauteng, the province where we are, largely between Pretoria and Joburg and other smaller municipalities that are there. Gauteng has the smallest landmass, but it accounts for 25.5% of our population, followed by KwaZulu-Natal sitting at about 12.2% and accounting for 19.4% of our population, all the way to the province that has the smallest population, called the Northern Cape, 1.4 million people, accounting for 2.2% of our population. Having said so, we want to look at what drives, what is that population growth. Usually, births drive population growth. And of course, from the births, when people pass on, we subtract the deaths. So you can see the lighter blue color there. It tells us what is driving our population growth. So net migration is a smaller component of what is driving our population growth. Having said so, let me mention that we don't do projections. We usually go and measure. And official statistics is very interesting because I don't measure official statistics by writing or saying what I think. So if I find you smoking a cigarette and I ask you, do you smoke or not? And you pull the cigarette and puff into the air and you say, I don't smoke. I write that you do not smoke. I don't write what I see. What I see or what I think doesn't matter. What you say is what matters the most. So I can't look at a mother having, gained weight and assume that she's expecting a child. In the demographic and health survey, we have to ask her if she's expecting a child. So there are no assumptions. And this becomes very critical because official statistics are about what the people are saying. So now, one of the things we do, especially in what we call the mid-year population estimates, we usually project. That is the only projection we put. So from 2021 all to 2026, we can see that the darker color on the left-hand side is people that were leaving Gauteng. The lighter color are people that were coming into Gauteng. So we can see that Gauteng had more people between 2021 and 2026 coming in as in the form of net migration, sitting closer to about 800,000. This is the only province that attracts many people. And when we say net migration, we are not talking about only gains. You can see at the bottom, particularly for provinces like the Free State, Limpopo and the Eastern Cape, the darker color is much more bigger than the lighter color. So these are the people that are having more people leaving these provinces than coming into those provinces. Having said so, I need to say that if we look at those who are coming into Gauteng, because Gauteng has the largest net movement into this province, we can see that from the left-hand side, the larger part right at the bottom are people who come from outside South Africa going into Gauteng. 50% of all people who come into South Africa from outside South Africa, they go into Gauteng. That is this province where Pretoria and Joburg are. Whereas internally, people from Limpopo are the ones that come second. You can see in the middle, there's a thicker bar. If you don't believe me, just look at who's talking to you now. You will get the numbers a lot more better. Yeah. And of course, when we look at the Western Cape, for example, which has the second most highest net migration in the country, we can see that people from
again, I noticed that members of parliament were taking serious notes about what you say, but as you always say, the numbers don't lie, isn't it? We're going to have now the final speaker, and then we open the floor for conversation, questions, and comments from organizations, stakeholders, because that's what members of parliament want to hear. So the last presentation is going to come from Mr. Sintumele. He's speaking as the director of the Consortium of Refugees and Migrants in South Africa. I'm told I need to enforce the 3 minutes rule.
Good afternoon. The SG, I'm definitely sure when my name was read, you automatically thought that another statistics. That is in Gauteng. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of the parliament, distinguished guests, our honorable DM, ladies and gentlemen, them and they. It is such an honor for me as the executive committee, as the executive director of the Consortium for Refugees and Migrants in South Africa. Allow me to submit this statement on behalf of our consortium and our 33 member organizations across the country. The Consortium for Refugees and Migrants as refugees and migrants in South Africa, the region, and globally. Have democratic integration and social cohesion. For migration comes at an increasingly via discrimination and communities all have important role to play in building inclusive and peaceful communities so that we can achieve peaceful coexistence in our communities. In this regard, COMSA respectively submits the following recommendation for the government and the parliament: to develop a coordinated whole of government migration strategies that improves policy coherence across departments and sectors, strengthen asylum and immigration system by improving administrative efficiency and reducing documentation backlogs, and observe that in the current administrative processes, quite a number of asylum seekers, they are still experiencing the long delay in their application to be adjudicated. We have to invest in community dialogue and social cohesion programs aimed at preventing violence and promoting peaceful coexistence. We have to improve access to reliable migration data. Thank you very much, the SG, on the statistics that you have provided. Evidence-based public communication to counter misinformation. We need to implement such strategies. We have to strengthen the capacity of municipalities to respond to migration and diversity within the local communities. In the last recommendation that we have to submit is that we need to enhance regional cooperation within the SADC and address migration challenges collectively, not as an individual country, but we also need other SADC and other continental countries to play their roles. Migration is a reality that must be governed rather than feared. South Africa has an opportunity to demonstrate leadership by promoting migration governance that is based, development-oriented, and grounded in a human rights and the constitutional value of our country. The choices we make today will determine whether migration becomes a source of division or an opportunity for regional cooperation, economic development, and social cohesion. Allow me, the program director, that I will not be doing justice if I go to sit down without mentioning this. As COMSA, we reiterate that South Africa's challenges of unemployment, poverty, inequality, crime, and poor service delivery cannot and must not be attributed to migrants and refugees. The current discourse around the 30 June mobilization reinforces the need for evidence-based policy response and social solidarity rather than scapegoating vulnerable communities, as the DM has actually eloquently so elaborated on issues of our society that are currently facing, with the 30 June date being facilitated in our social media. As COMSA, we remain committed to working with Parliament, governments, civil society, and communities to advance solutions that promote dignity, inclusion, and shared prosperity for all who live in South Africa. In those words, that is the statement that the Consortium for Refugees and Migrants in South Africa has to submit before the Parliament and before the distinguished guest and our honorable representative of our government and the regional and the continent. We thank you.
Thank you. You'll realize that we're moving into a stakeholder section now where stakeholders are beginning to present their positions. The next one is from an organization called Africa Unite, and they'll be represented by Mr. Zoe Nkongolo.
Honorable Minister and Honorable Deputy Minister and the Chair and the guests and friends. As Africa Unite, we are part of COMSA. I'm not going to come and submit again a statement because what is my colleague submit, we are part of that. I'm standing here wearing two hats. First, as the first, among the first refugees who came to this country, I can say 32 years. So, and also I will speak a little bit about social cohesion. It's through my experiences. First, why we come to where we are now, this crisis outside. So for me, I'm just trying to put government. Government is the core. Government is responsible for what happened currently in the country. Because I still remember in 2005, we mobilized refugees. We're in the parliament. I don't know if Ronald know. When the chairperson portfolio committee on migrations, Chawuka, brought refugees in Cape Town. We're part of it. So the issue of refugees was, there were no crises. But when the crisis started is when now I can say, we don't blame Home Affairs, but this is a policy to find that people who are here in the country. More than 20 years, we still have some people who still asylum seeker. Those who have refugee status, recognized as refugee status with right. After 4 years, they cannot renew their paper anymore. It means the people is legal, they are made illegal. Those are things which is visible up to now. People are married, the children, they cannot get the paper. Those things making that thing very difficult for migrants and refugees to live in the country. The situation is so bad. I still remember the time we arrived here in 1994. There were genuine refugees. I never went to Home Affairs to get refugee papers. They came, Home Affairs came to me to give me a paper because they never knew there were other people who just arrived. They give their papers. But that time, there were also some people, there was a crisis in Yugoslavia. All those white people who came together with us, today they're citizens, South African citizens, others that even in the parliament. But what about us? So what about us? Because, give me more time, because this is a debate, we need to talk about it. So it means that those who could be marginalized is only African. Because it's abnormal for someone who's in the country for 25 years is still asylum seeker. You cannot justify that. The person who's going to France, who's going to Canada, in less than 8 years is citizen. In our own continent, people still in that situation. People are living in the country more than 15 years. When he's going to Home Affairs, they will tell him that, listen, your paper we can't see your paper. Come and renew. As refugees, you need to have ID. If you have been recognized as refugees, you need to have ID, you need to have a passport. But when you apply for passport, it will take 3 years. When you got the passport, it means the remaining maybe 1 year before it expired. So those are policies. So when I saw last year on the white paper, when government they was proposing they need to draw from 1951 convention, and I was happy. I said, yes, that's true, because they already applied that. It's better to say that it's not applying instead of lying, because I'm standing here as a former. I was there. I know there are still other people who are on my position. They still asylum seeker up to now. So what you see outside is just, I like it, because it's the way to expose exactly what's happening under no policy, but it's what's happening in the country. So that's something that I need to talk about it. Second things, because I don't have enough time, because they're talking about is a migration, and they are also social cohesion. I want to talk a case study of social cohesion is about Africa Unite. which is the organization which I'm leading, which started in New Crossroad in Cape Town in 2001, which is starting by young people from New Crossroad, which was started based on xenophobia, where someone was killed in New Crossroad. So we went to discuss with the young people in the area. So it's those young people who decide that they need to make a change. So African started as a movement of young people, and today Africa Unite is being implemented in all the provinces. We have office in Guguletu, we have office in KwaZulu-Natal, and we have office in Johannesburg, and we are training young people by using human rights as a tool for change. And also we have learned that social cohesion is not the event. Social cohesion is a process. So to do that, so you must find the citizen and non-citizen, they must find a common interest. If there are no common interest, nothing will happen. So why we were focusing on the youth. So we train the young people, and young people, they go to the communities. It's them who conduct some information session in school, in the communities, churches, and other places. In all areas, today I can say that we have trained more than 2,000 young people who are working in various communities. And we have different programs. So some of the things is that we are using something of interest is a skill sharing. Skill sharing means that we are using some migrants who have some skills in math and science, going to the school, doing those information sessions for free. And we have so many case studies where to show the improvement. And others is about the business. Business is not only about money. Business is about discipline. And recently I saw in one of the township where I don't councillor who someone said, listen to a woman, today I'm giving you this shop, become part of yours. But I was asking to my youth, when to watch after 2 months or 3 months, if that shop will continue working. So if you give someone something like this, it does not know how difficult to maintain. Those are things that are getting problem. And to conclude is that I want to say that in everything we do, government doesn't put any money in those things we are doing. That is one of the challenge. Government must put money where his mouth is. So to make social cohesion, we need really to work with young people. Those who are part of Africa Unite, we have a different program we are doing. We want to be sure that young South Africans, there's a lot of program, exchange program, Canada, South Africa, France, South Africa, but there are no program of young people going to other African countries. So one thing that we are trying to do is that how can we bring some young people who are South African, maybe to go to Kenya, to go to Ghana, to learn something can be very important. That's part of our program, and we are busy working with some university. And we have also developed recently a program which designed this book, is a kids book, where we want that this book can be distributed to the school, where we translate it in Afrikaans, Zulu, Xhosa, and other languages, where we need to teach learners. They need to call the day Mandela came to class. So we want government to put money that we can distribute this kind of things. We don't have enough time, but for meantime, I want to thank you.
I'm told there's somebody from Much and Much who wants to take the platform. There. I'm told it's Sibusi, so please come through. Talk. Just to remind the House, Parliament is coming to the community to listen to your voices on issues of migration, So everybody will be given the space to speak. Over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson of the session or Program Director, because the Chairperson is here. My name is Sandile Dube. I'm the National Executive Committee member of March and March, and I'm also a leader of March and March in Gauteng Province. I was not told I'll be delivering a speech or anything, but we will just take it as it is. One, we want to appreciate the opportunity to be called, to be invited at this platform, because many times people don't know the faces behind March and March. They just know that there's Mamu Jacinta, Zintle Ngobese. They don't know that there's actually a whole lot of community leaders that are there, tried and tested. By the way, I know that people are anxious about the 30th of June, what will happen, and are we going to see havoc? Look, we are the people of South Africa, and we love this country to destroy it. We will ensure that on the 30th of June, we unapologetically raise our concerns with the government of the Republic of South Africa without destroying any infrastructure. We don't stand for anything that is anti-constitutional. We are very clear. And we've realized that many people are miscommunicating the direction, the organization itself. We've been called vigilante group, and also I've been taking notes. Some of the statements about vigilantism, they appear. They don't even know that March and March in the Gauteng province is led by a person who works with the South African Police Service in terms of the community policing structures. So we are credible community leaders, but we unapologetically want to raise an issue of illegal immigrants in South Africa. And thank you, Statistician General. You've vindicated us with those stats that you've just flagged on the board, where you see an overtaking of one nationality by other. I just want to share the experience as chairperson of Sunnyside Community Police Forum. I've been there for the past 16 years in the trenches. What we observe as community members, because statistics can speak, but lived experiences by community members talk otherwise. In Sunnyside, as a case study, you have a certain national group that is highly infested on crimes that talk on drugs and human trafficking. And unapologetically, I will name it here because we are here to have a conversation. And that's the Nigerian community. Those are statistics that don't lie. And I want us to have that frank conversation. We have certain crimes that are perpetrated by certain two nationalities, car-related crimes, whether it's hijackings or stolen theft out of motor vehicles. And in the main, it's the Zimbabweans and the Mozambicans. We must name it for what it is. And these are lived experiences of South Africans. And of lately, I want to remind you, I think the former Premier Makura in Gauteng Province and the MECs of Community Safety, I worked very closely with them. We had a house in Sunnyside, there by House 22, for those who likes having a good time. House 22 is a famous place in Sunnyside. There was a White House, a building called the White House, where we worked jointly with the government of the province in ensuring, because the community had identified that as a crime infested by the Somalians by the Tanzanians and all these other, you see these crimes, they've got a trend, a certain trend. So these are lived experiences. But I want a situation whereby March and March will not be viewed as a vigilante group, but a credible South African a registered organization that is raising genuine issues that are lived experiences by South Africans. So what we need a situation whereby we have joint operations. We've done that when I was chairperson of Sunnyside Community Police Forum. We have Brigadier Khwadi, the station commander of Sunnyside, and Operation Tutula. Operation Tutula jointly comes to our boardroom. We chair those meetings. And they say, let's have a joint operation because we see that you are terrorized by the very same community as the police of Sunnyside. I'm using Sunnyside as a case study. It happens in KwaMashu. It happens in Hillbrow. It happens everywhere. So successfully, we planned. We said, look, let it not be a community-driven effort. Let it be a SAPS-driven effort. And we name it as a crime operation, crime prevention operation. And we were there behind them. While the SAPs are doing the operations, the community is there because we have lived experiences where certain national groups, foreign nationals, terrorize our own police. And I'm happy we've got the chairperson of the Ethiopians nationalities in South Africa. We were sharing a conversation because he himself, I want to make an example of the good nationals that we want. Sunnyside, through a crime operation that was happening there, a certain group of Ethiopians began to fight with SAPs in Robert Sobukwe Street in Sunnyside. And that went viral on social media. But we want to talk of a good example of the foreign nationals that we need in South Africa. The chairperson of the Ethiopians, I don't know what the organization is called in South Africa, wrote a letter to Sunnyside Police Station in apologizing to SAPS and the community of Sunnyside. And we had a meeting, it was chaired by me, where we had a conversation to say, you might want to raise issues, but this is not a way of raising issues. Your issues with Home Affairs, they were raised in that platform. So that's a kind of an approach that we need moving forward. I'm just using Sunnyside as a classical example. So we want to dismiss the view that March and March is led by vigilante groups. So that needs to be rejected with the contempt that it deserves. We are South Africans, we are concerned South Africans, and we have legitimate issues. And of course, we will be infiltrated in our efforts. And we want to report to this House to say we've got 4 marches that have been planned for 30th of June, unapologetically so, because those issues need to be raised. And we will continue to have marches and marches until we win the battle against drugs, human trafficking in South Africa. And South Africa cannot be for sale while we are here and on the loop. And I want to send a message to the African diaspora to say those governments and the civil society in those countries need to stand up. They need to see what is happening in South Africa as an example of how to get your government accountable. The government needs to account. All these, we want to visit Zimbabwe, we want to visit Mozambique as good countries, as much as those other countries visit South Africa. So by not holding your government accountable, you are actually depriving us of an opportunity to visit a good governed African country. So we want to go to these African countries, but we don't want to shy away. South Africans, they said, we must tell you that they are being insulted. I will show you a video. You must just go to a video just after the Ghanaians, about 300 Ghanaians went back to Ghana, of which, and there's a Ghanaian social media activist or donor, the insult perpetrated on South Africans just for demanding what South Africans deserve. So DM, I'm happy in your last articulation that as government you want to underscore the message that South Africans are not xenophobic, and we're happy to hear that. In fact, before you spoke, I wanted to give you a message to say we have a message to Minister Lamula that every speech that he must deliver at any platform, he needs to start with the words South Africans are not xenophobic, and we won't apologize for that. And we must appreciate the President for having yielded to the call by March and March, because we demanded the President to say, you must address the nation before the 30th of June, and that has happened. So, Program Director, I want to peacefully say there will be peaceful marches in eThekwini region on Tuesday, in the city of Tshwane, in the city of Joburg, and in Kimberley. Thank you very much.
Wait. This symposium is not so much about what's meant to happen on the 30th, but it's about immigration and governance and what needs to happen in the continent as a whole. But everybody sitting here wants to know what exactly will happen on the 30th. So what should my students expect on the 30th, members of parliament and their families? What's going to happen? Just give us a sense.
Look, on the 30th, you might have seen the marches that we've been holding throughout the country. On the 30th, it's just the same. So there's nothing special about the 30th. We will be marching just as we were marching. There are marches today. Mrs. Jacinta Zinhle-Ngobese Zuma was supposed to be here, but she had to prioritize a march in Escort. And there were issues there. You would have known that Escort, there was a march before, and then I think it's the Ethiopian community on the tuck shop issues, where they took March to, or I think the mayor, I think they took the mayor of Escort to court. So we are going there to actually rectify the message. Lastly, since you gave me the opportunity, as March and March, we want to condemn the events that we saw in the Free State. I think it's Bloemfontein, under the name of March and March, where there was looting. We want to condemn those events with the strongest voice that we can ever have. We will be going back. Our priority beyond June 30 is to ensure that there's a march in Bloemfontein, either in Bloemfontein or the surrounding areas, where we are going to stem in to say, this is the view of March and March with respect to the constitution of this country. What happened in Free State, we condemn it with the strongest voice. Thank you.
Again, just one last question. We've got members of parliament sitting here, and they're going to have their committee meeting at some point discussing what came out of this symposium. What is one thing that you want the committee members to think about or decide over the next couple of weeks?
Thank you for affording me that opportunity, because it really, I wanted to speak to. We are concerned as March and March with the statements, with some of the ministers. Very reckless statements. I'll quote Minister Mackenzie's video that is circulating in dissuading his members of his political party from not attending the marches of the June 30. But he goes on and insinuates a a position of government that makes us worried. To say there is a plan that government has, and we interpreted that plan as a plan of destruction or destroying South Africans on June 30, who will be marching. And that is a concern. So Chairperson of the portfolio, please take that to, I don't know if Minister Mackenzie is a government spokesperson or what. So we took it very, very seriously. We also took very seriously the budget, that 600 million that has been budgeted for June 30, to say there's so much that that budget could have gone to. We have sector policing challenges. We were promised that for each ward or each sector, we'll have 2 vehicles. But I can tell you the challenges with SAPS, and I'm happy the portfolio committee member on policing is here. The SAPS is doing very bad when it comes to resourcing. But we just don't know where this 600 million is going to. I mean, it's crazy. So basically, the message that we want the portfolio committee to take to wherever you take it, or maybe it's you report to the president, is that March and March has been marching all along, and on Tuesday it won't be different. It's just that we have taken the marches to be all in different provinces at the same time. Gauteng, because it has a huge number of illegal foreign nationals that are here, and there's resistance in Gauteng province. Hence, we have 2 marches in centers. And we are taking these marches unapologetically to the centers where these illegal foreign nationals are. And all the marches will be directed to the police stations. So in Sunnyside, we'll be taking it Church Square to Sunnyside in Tshwane, and then Beyers Nodé Square in Joburg to Hillbrow Police Station. That was our intention. Similarly in Durban, the only change will be the one in Northern Cape, because it's our first time, so we'll be taking it to the office of the Premier. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Colleagues, we're now at the point where we are opening the floor for questions and comments. As I said, members of parliament are sitting here, so there'll be microphones. Can I make an appeal? We don't have too much time, so if I give you the floor, don't make a long speech. Just either ask one question, one comment, and we move. So we're gonna start this side and move, and I've noted all the hands. So you can give it to that gentleman. And if it takes too long, I'm gonna cut you. So just quickly.
This opportunity and greet everyone who is here. My name is Yonela. I work for Africa Unite. I'm in charge of working with young people in the organization. I'm happy that the leader came and said this, because my director there said what March and March is doing is exposing something we want as seen, like the inconsistency in policy and all that stuff. So we're happy to hear that there will be no violence on the 30th of June. It's a simple, peaceful march by South Africans. What we encourage is that to improve relations between locals and migrants, is that there must be...
Sorry, Your Majesties, as you leave, we got your apology. The Parliament is requesting your presentations to please be sent through. All the presentations, please send through, even all the speakers, your presentation. Yeah, so we'll give an email address. MPs want to get copies of your presentations, all of you. Sorry, my brother. You can proceed.
All right. Yeah, mine was to say, as Africa Unite, part of the things we encourage is local migrant working relations. For instance, we have a project that we implement whereby local migrants teach local skills that can help them generate income. So as to help them eradicate the issue of unemployment, because sometimes migrants have a certain propensity or ability to do certain business that help them in that kind of way. The second thing is that we must implement or adopt Africa Day, 25th May, as a national public holiday here in this country, to encourage programs that will help government and society to learn about Africa, so that will reduce these sentiments that are sort of anti-African. You heard someone speaking about Yugoslavia and African migrants treated differently in this country. We're talking about one other thing we want to encourage is an issue of culture and heritage exposure. We are running this Africa Day campaign in schools, and part of the things that we are learning is that large amounts of the South African history education, it does not even dwell much on the African continent. Even in the South African context, in fact, it's quite limited in how it positions. I say it's like an events calendar.
Thank you. I think we'll move to this hand there. Yeah, we're moving this way. Everybody noted.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'm Ngabuto Nicholas Mabena. I'm the chairman of the Zimbabwe community in South Africa, the largest migrant community in this country. I plead with you to give me 5 minutes so that support that was rendered to the Zimbabwean government post-2000 also created this problem, because it was on the pretext that Zimbabwe was a victim of imperialist forces. Yet we know that it was a competition between the local bourgeoisie and the imperialist forces to loot our resources. It was not on behalf of the mass of the people of Zimbabwe. Of course, as I have said, that we share historical ties. We remember our liberation icons born in Zimbabwe who played a critical role in the struggle against apartheid. For example, Thomas Nkobi from Plumtree in Zimbabwe became the Treasurer General of the African National Congress. Uba Makhathini Kuduza from Cholocho was part of the people that provided meals to Tatu Mandela when he was underground. We also know Ubabu Mpofu, also who was in prison in Ruben Island after becoming the chairperson of the ANC in a Soweto branch. Let me jump all this and come to the amnesty that we are proposing. We recognize the issues, Honorable Chair, that have been raised. But we also accept that irregular migration is not proper. But it is common cause that we have people that have been working for years in South Africa undocumented. Our plea to the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee is that such individuals or workers must be given an amnesty for them to wind down whatever they are doing in South Africa, because we believe that employers must take responsibility in transporting them together with their goods to their countries of origin. So we think that if we were to work around an amnesty of 31st December 2026 without necessarily rounding up those that are undocumented, then they travel and they leave their properties behind. We think it is not proper. Secondly, Chair, we think that we need to return to the white paper on international migration as gazetted in 2017, which in our view was progressive, because the reality is South Africa is a member of SADC, And we know that countries, migrants from the SADC region are attracted to work in South Africa. So the white paper on international migration gazetted in 2017, as I conclude, proposed 3 visas after it realized this, that you provide a work visa for semi-skilled and low-skilled workers that are already in the Republic of South Africa. You provide a cross-border visa for those that are doing cross-border trade, and you provide a business visa for those that are doing business in South Africa. Thank you so much.
The good thing about it is that it's in writing, so please submit it to the committee immediately. I'm going to take this side, 1, 2, and the lady at the back, and then we'll move to the center. And please, again, I'm under strict instructions from Parliament to conclude in the next 15, 20 minutes. So if you can please be brief.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's working. Can you hear me?
Okay, thank you very much, actually, Program Director, GM, the Portfolio Committee.
Oh, they can hear you. Okay, let's exchange microphone.
Okay, thank you very much, Program Director. My name is Amir Sheikh, representing the African Diaspora Forum as the chairperson. The African Diaspora Forum is a federation of migrant associations formed on the aftermath of 2008 mass xenophobic attack. We are members of 48 countries, and the vast majority of us are from Africa. We have representation from Asia, as well as our brothers from the Caribbean who are not much in South Africa, and the Eastern Europeans. We have actually based, our headquarters is here in Johannesburg, but we have got representation in the whole country. The message actually I would actually like to, because you said I was meant actually to present and I was told it was 5 minutes, so I would only like to thank actually the Portfolio Committee for extending this invitation to us. What is currently happening, we understand, is not the stand taken by the government of South Africa. The terminologies that are currently used, like Afrophobia, xenophobia, do not reflect the generosity and the hospitality of South Africa. Despite actually the challenges we face in this country, of actually killing and the maiming and the looting of businesses, it is not something isolated to the Republic of South Africa. We face them in the mother continent, in all countries, and even in the most actually developed and industrialized countries. The issue that we have as a migrant is undocumented. And as alluded by the Secretary of the African Diaspora Forum, Comrade actually Nicholas Ngabuto Mabena, I think it's something that it can be addressed. I will applaud South Africa as one country that have unreservedly, when it attained independence in 1994, in 1988 it have actually after actually adopting, and you know, these international territories, the likes of actually the 1951 Geneva Convention and the 1968 Convention of Refugees of the AOU have domesticated this into what came as the Refugee Actually Act of 1998. Very progressive as the Constitution of the South Africa and the Bill of Rights that actually give us the reality that actually we are welcome. South Africa belongs to all who live it in its diversity, whether black and white. So we feel part and parcel of what makes this actually country a great nation. The stand taken by some African countries, and I actually applaud the Statistician General when he actually mentioned and given us these statistics, that those countries that are the loudest, that are the most talked about, do not even appear in the top 10 of the Statistician General actually list. I had Somalis, and I think the name Somali is trending all over the country. But one thing actually I realized, and I think for the sake of actually everyone, and even the parliamentarian, is the name Somalian that appear in the media do not represent only Somalis. When we actually attained independence in 1994, our Emeritus Archbishop Desmond Tutu coined a term and called us actually a rainbow nation. But afterward, there were terminologies that developed. From time to time, there was a time while all foreigners in this country were called Ama Pakistan. So it doesn't reflect actually only Pakistans. We were once Ama Nigerian,
And I think this is a time that all foreigners are actually called Ama Somalian. When the March and March leader in Gauteng actually presented, he talked about Somalis. But I can actually attest to him, and I can take him to task that there are not even more than 2 stores owned by Somalis in Sunnyside, and nothing more than that. But we accept the terminology as a whole. Lastly, some action taken by African countries, like Ghana, for example, do not actually represent the undying spirit and patriotism and Pan-Africanism of our founding fathers, like the founder of Ghana itself, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, or actually, the likes of others. And the stand they have actually taken South Africa up to the African Union level, is not something that we as the representative body of the African diaspora are happy. The Deputy Minister, in conclusion, I would like actually to share this quick message with you, that we have also, on our part, and taking action from the African diaspora perspective, send emissaries to our home countries with a clear message to tell the issue of actually positive migration in South Africa. This is a nation that actually you can come, and even despite some of us being even undocumented, or some other name that I do not want to, you can freely move, freely associate with anything, freely exercise your religion, and this is something we will not grant actually for good. We will not actually take it. And what we will do is that our ministers back at home will not charge South Africa through mobile journalisms, or actually keyboard warriors, or through handles like Twitter, but we will give them the right message of positive migration in South Africa, and we will reassure them, as foreigners, we are happy, welcome, and enjoying the hospitality of this great rainbow nation. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you to put all of that in writing and submit it to the committee. I think it's important for... You wrote it? Okay. Okay. So we're moving. There's a lady right at the top there. And then we come to the 2 of you, and then we come to you, this section. This very anxious section here will come to you. Okay, yeah. Oh, I think she's dropped. Yeah, this.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Melinda Maxwell, and I'm from Wits University. But I would like to re-echo what the gentleman from the Africa Unite actually said, because my background comes from Say Exchange. It's a program that focused on regional integration, but it was led by Southern Africa Trust. And because of funding, it was cut. So I understand you say that there are few programs that have sent youth Africans to different countries, especially in the SADC region. That was one of it. And my main question was going to the Parliament. I wanted to find out what exactly it's putting forward in terms of supporting the cultural exchange programs that are led by youth organizations, because what we understand is that most of the youth actually do not understand the history that we share as Southern Africa. And when we had South Africans sent to Zambia, Mozambique, even Zimbabwe, and Malawi, they realized that there are a lot of similarities in culture, in language, and what exactly is the government of South Africa putting forward to support these cultural exchange programs, because we understand that social cohesion is not just basically signing agreements. It's not done in the offices, but it's led by the youths of tomorrow. So I just wanted to re-echo what he says, that we need to build the youths, their capacity, their knowledge, and their participation. Secondly, we need the government to be involved as well. So thank you so much.
All right. We're coming to this row, the last 3 hands, and then we come this side. Yeah, start. Thank you.
I stand on all protocols observed, and I'd like to thank the organizers of this symposium this has been a very enriching experience. My name is Tolulola George, and I'm the national coordinator for a movement of migrant women called Tusimame Wanawake, which means Stand Up Women in Swahili. It's actually one of the initiatives of Africa Unite as well. And we do a lot of work in social cohesion, and we do a lot of work at the grassroots level with the migrant women, and we work a lot in tandem with the South African local women, because we understand that many of the challenges that we face are the same as local or migrant or refugee women. Now, because of time, I don't want to take too much of the time here, but I want to give two recommendations. First of all, we'd like to suggest that the police stations across the nation should be part of the refugee reception initiatives, because many times when refugees come into the country, they don't know where the reception centers are. And that's part of how they begin to become illegal, because they're still trying to find out where they are. Then they find out that they've got to go somewhere, which is somewhere far from where they are. And there's a lot of confusion around that, especially for incoming people. So we want to suggest that, is it possible for the government to arrange, and anyone can easily find a police station, go there and can get accurate information, and they will direct you so that you don't begin to slip through the cracks and become illegal in the country. The second recommendation is, we'd like to ask that, is it possible for us to task the Home Affairs, the Parliament is here, because many people have actually tried to regularize their stays, and they find themselves being rejected for all kinds of frivolous reasons. And you'll find situations in which there are families in which maybe a family of 5, the husband is documented, the wife is not documented. 1 out of 3 children are not documented, and the others, and it creates a lot of instability, and they spend tremendous amount of time trying to regularize themselves. As the Africa Unite director has spoken, it's difficult for someone who has been an asylum seeker for 25 years to just up and go when he's been given a final rejection. So, because in 25 years he has had children, he has built a life, he has built a business. So is it possible for us to get the Home Affairs to try and make their systems a little bit more efficient?
Okay.
So that people they can know within 6 months, which is actually the amount of time that they're supposed to take, and not 15, 25, 30 years, and people just get discouraged and just slip into illegality. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I like the fact that you're making concrete recommendations. Chair Mopilo, I'm sure you heard that the issue of Home Affairs has come up several times. They're not here. So I think that the committee is going to have to find a way of collaborating with that committee and take those recommendations. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. All protocols observed. My name is Inchester City. I'm the chairperson of JMAP, which is Johannesburg Migrants Advisory Panel. It's in the Johannesburg City Migrants Help Desk. I'm also a member of SAMINI, which is the Southern African Migration Network. So speaking of migration, it's something that we cannot stop. And it's something that we need to understand. And I'm so happy to have the statistics that have been given. Those statistics speaks to something that the media is shying away from. And as Parliament is here now, can we try to have a direction? Because I understand everything is politics. For us to get to where we are, it's all about politics. And the politics of the day is the type of message that is being sent out to the community, to everybody. We have got the statistics, but we have got politicians who are fueling this whole thing. Some have even bought cars, put speakers. I am surprised to hear the gentleman from March to March here today saying, no, the 30th is just a march which is similar to any other marches. But when you go to social media, you are seeing a vehicle moving, documented or undocumented migrants Just move out. We don't want to see you. Abahambe, who is doing this? So as Parliament is here, can we please have a proper direction of where this is leading us to? For some of us who have migrated, I'm originally from Malawi. I've stayed in Zimbabwe. We ran away when they were chasing the whites. There was a lot of chaos. My father was a farm manager there then. We would run away. We are here in South Africa. After staying here in South Africa, thanks to South Africa, I'm now an entrepreneur. I'm in Uganda. But for somebody who cannot manage and he has been put on a line to say the 30th is the deadline, and our media is busy fueling that, the message that these gentlemen have said to us today here is not out there in the media. Why can't we see them on the media, the leaders of March and March, coming to say, no, ours is a progressive march. We have got our grievances against our government. We are starting from here, going to there. If you go into Hillbrow, I'm saying I'm from Johannesburg Migrants Advisory Panel, which means I interact with the community. I'm almost like the community itself. People are thinking that March and March is coming to destroy property in Hillbrow. Who is speaking about it on the media? The coverage that they are having in terms of the message is different. Now that we've got Parliament here, my quest is to say, how best can we have our own local media giving out information that also is supportive to our African thinking? Ubuntu. I thank you.
Okay, next hand.
Hi. Oh, thank you. Thank you. My name is Lebogan Ramafuku. I'm the Executive Director at Corruption Watch. So you can guess what I'm going to talk about. I think underscoring and underlying the problems that we have right now is corruption. And unfortunately, the government of South Africa has not clothed itself in anything but shame when the issue of corruption has come up. We are watching the Madlanga Commission, where right now we are making accusations of drug selling to foreigners, when our senior police officials are stealing confiscated drugs and selling them to communities. And I think it's an important issue that as all departments and governments are speaking about the issue of immigration, they weed out corruption out of it. Because in fact, when you look at hijacked buildings, even in cities like Johannesburg, it's aided by corruption. Nobody would cross a border and hijack a building in a foreign country if there were no enablers, and it's corruption. And lastly, our government, I hope they will go back to the drawing board about transforming the economy of South Africa. Because in fact, an economy that grows at 1.2% cannot absorb its own people, let alone anybody else. And we are sitting with a government that is not transforming the economy, a government that has got no imagination about what a township economy is all about, a government that does not know how to stimulate the economy sufficiently so that people can support themselves. And thirdly, the victims of this point are women and children. So we would need to look at a gendered lens around these issues. I was not surprised when I saw the statistician general speaking about domestic work. Because in fact, that is where you are seeing women who are also contributing to a care economy that is unrecognized and incompensated. So all I want to say is to say the struggle is intersectional, and we would need to speak about the transformation of the economy so that black, vulnerable immigrants are not pitted against black, unemployed South Africans in a country that has lacked imagination about how to deal with these issues. Thank you.
I must declare that I'm conflicted by the last speaker because I'm the chairperson of Corruption Watch Board, so I need to declare that up front right now. So I think we're moving to this section now. There are lots of hands. We're starting here. If we come back, we'll come back. I think I've given enough space for this section. Let's start with you, sir, and then we'll go up that way. Everybody. Noted. Again, let's try and be brief.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And Dr. Maseko, thanks very much to host us. It has been a while, it's my home here.
Okay.
I'm Isaac Munyela, the founding director of MEA Academy. Firstly, I want to start with you, my dear fellows. Please, when you are in Parliament, make us proud. We are